Take a slow breath in and gently let it go. Let your shoulders soften downward. Let the muscles around your eyes loosen. There is nowhere you need to go right now. Tonight, we stay in one place. Just one. High in the white mountains of Eastern California, where the air is thin and the wind moves patiently across pale, ancient stone. A bristlecone pine stands alone on a ridge. The ground around it is dry and silvered. Rock and dust and low alpine plants pressed close to the earth. The sky above feels wide, very wide. Clouds move slowly here. Even time feels thinner. This tree has stood in this exact place for thousands of years. Longer than most languages have existed. Longer than most borders have been drawn. It does not travel. It does not chase history. History passes below it instead, like weather. And across those centuries, one family keeps returning. Generation after generation. Not because they are told to, not because they must. But because something about the ridge feels steady. Each generation leaves something small behind. Sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. And the tree keeps it. Take another slow breath in. And out. Let the mountain air in this story grow cool around you. We begin far back, very far back. It is now the year 300 before the Common Era. The bristlecone is still young. Its trunk is narrow. Its bark pale and tight. It grows from a crack in stone, barely wide enough to hold soil. Its roots do not spread outward much. They push downward, searching slowly. Below the ridge, small groups move with the seasons. They follow animals. They follow water. They leave little trace. A boy named Tovo climbs higher than usual one afternoon. He is curious. He is restless, carrying a smooth grey stone in his hand. The stone came from the valley stream, rounded by years of running water, cool against his palm. He reaches the ridge. He sees the small bristlecone standing alone against the sky. There is something about it. Not large, not grand, just stubborn. He steps closer, places his hand against the bark. The wind moves through the needles. A dry, whispering sound, almost like breath passing through teeth. Tovo stills. He feels noticed. Not watched, not judged, just held in awareness. He kneels, presses the smooth stone into the soil at the base of the trunk. "I will come back," he says quietly. The wind answers in the needles. But winter comes early that year. Hard, unforgiving. Tovo does not survive it. Spring returns. The tree remains. The stone rests in shadow at its base. And the bristlecone grows, slowly, one thin ring at a time. Time does not rush here. Seasons turn. Snow gathers and melts. Drought years stretch thin. Then wetter years return. Lightning strikes once, splitting a branch. The tree seals the wound and continues. A 1,000 winters pass, very quietly. It is now the year 900. The tree has stood through more than 1,000 winters. Its trunk is thick, twisted by prevailing wind. One side partly dead from an old lightning scar. The other side still alive and growing. Below the ridge, descendants of Tovo's people still move with the land. Stories have shifted. Names have changed. A woman named Saya climbs the ridge with her daughter Luma. The air is thinner than Luma expects. She laughs at the strange echo of her own voice. They reach the bristlecone near late afternoon. Light is angled, long shadows stretching across pale ground. Luma runs ahead. She trips near the trunk. Her copper locket slips from her neck, disappears into dust and fallen needles. They search carefully, hands brushing soil, lifting small stones. The sky darkens toward evening. The temperature drops. They must descend. We will return, Saya promises. But illness comes that winter. Luma does not survive it. When spring wind moves across the ridge, soil shifts slightly. The copper locket settles deeper, beside the smooth grey stone placed long ago. The tree keeps it. Centuries pass the way wind passes over stone. Not loudly, not dramatically, just steadily. The bristlecone grows in narrow rings, some years thick with moisture, some years barely visible. Its bark peels in pale ribbons. Its wood hardens into silver-grey sculpture. Below the ridge, the world changes in ways the tree cannot name. New languages travel across continents. New borders are drawn and redrawn. But up here, the sky remains wide. Time moves forward again. It is now the year 1860. Far from this ridge, a nation fractures into civil war. News travels slowly to the mountains, but it travels. A man named Elias Ward climbs toward the bristlecone one late afternoon. He once believed the mountains held gold enough to change his life. He followed rumors west. He followed hope. He found very little. Dust clings to his boots. Disappointment settles deeper than dust. He reaches the tree and lowers himself carefully against its trunk. The bark presses firm against his back, solid, unmoving. "I should have stayed home," he says quietly. The words fall into open air. No one answers. Or perhaps something does. The wind shifts direction. Through the needles comes a sound. Low, almost melodic. Humming. Not loud enough to startle, just present enough to notice. Elias opens his eyes. The ridge is empty. The humming fades into ordinary wind. He exhales slowly, tells himself it was memory, loneliness, altitude. One tin button on his coat hangs loose by a thread. He twists it free between his fingers. Without fully knowing why, he presses the button into the soil near the trunk. Metal against earth. A small, quiet offering. He leaves the ridge lighter than he arrived. Not because his fortune has changed, but because something about the tree did not move when he leaned against it. Years later, when he has a daughter, he tells her about the bristlecone. He does not mention the humming, only the steadiness. Storms pass. Snow piles deep in some winters, barely dusts the ridge in others. Lightning strikes again. The limb dies. The rest lives on. The smooth stone remains. The copper locket rests beside it. The tin button settles deeper into soil. The tree keeps them. Time moves again. It is now the year 1898. Elias's daughter Clara is grown. She climbs the ridge alone for the first time. Her husband has died unexpectedly. Illness, sudden, unfinished words left hanging in rooms. She carries a folded letter in her coat pocket. The paper has been opened and closed many times, edges soft from handling. She reaches the bristlecone near dusk, the sky turning lavender and pale gold. She sits beside the trunk, lets the silence surround her. The mountain air feels larger than her grief. Carefully, she builds a small cairn of stones near the base. One stone, then another, then another. She places the folded letter inside the small hollow. When her palm touches the bark, she pauses. The wood feels warmer than the air. Not hot, not unnatural, just warmer. The wind moves. And layered within it, she hears something faint. A child's laugh, soft and distant. A low hum beneath it. A man's weary sigh. The sounds overlap gently, like memories played at once. Clara does not feel afraid. Instead, she feels less alone. She exhales slowly. When she opens her eyes, the ridge is silent again. Years later, storms scatter the cairn stones. The letter slips from its fold and settles into soil. Near stone, near copper, near tin. The tree keeps it. Time turns quietly forward. It is now the year 1934. The Great Depression presses heavily across the country. Work is scarce. Hope is thinner than usual. Clara's son, Thomas, climbs during early winter. He likes numbers, facts, things that can be measured. The sky looks clear when he begins, but mountain weather changes quickly. Clouds gather low, wind sharpens, snow begins falling sideways. The path fades. White erases direction. Thomas turns downhill, or thinks he does. Panic tightens his chest. Breath quickens in the cold air. Through the thickening snow, he sees a shape. Dark, twisted, familiar. The bristlecone. He stumbles toward it, presses his back against the trunk. The wind feels weaker here, interrupted somehow, as if the tree breaks its force. He closes his eyes, breathes in, breathes out. Slowly, the storm thins. When visibility returns, the correct descent path lies clearly below him. Later, he will call it coincidence. But before he leaves, he removes the small pocket knife from his coat. He wedges it gently into a crack of bark quiet thank you. Months later, the knife loosens. It falls, joins the others beneath the soil. Stone, copper, tin, paper, steel. The tree keeps them. Time turns again. It is now the year 1972. Humans have walked on the moon, and satellites circle silently above the Earth. Science has learned how to read trees, to measure rings, to count years hidden in wood. Thomas's daughter, Ruth, studies biology. She knows that bristlecone pines in these mountains can live more than 4,000 years. Some of the oldest living organisms on Earth. She respects evidence. She respects data. But she also remembers the family stories. About the ridge. About the steadiness. About the strange humming her grandfather never quite described. She climbs without instruments, no drills, no measuring tools, just herself. The bristlecone stands larger than she imagined. Half sculpture, half survivor. Dead wood twists like bone on one side. The living strip of bark spirals upward on the other. She sits beside it. She waits. The mountain is very quiet that afternoon. No birds nearby. No distant voices. She places her palm gently against the bark, closes her eyes. And impressions come. Not images exactly, not voices, more like textures passing through her awareness. Cold stone in a child's hand. Copper warmed by sunlight. Tin pressed into dust. paper folded tight with unspoken words. Steel resting briefly against living wood. The impressions layer softly, not urgent, not overwhelming. Ruth's breathing slows. Her heartbeat steadies. When she opens her eyes, nothing has changed. The ridge remains still. She smiles slightly, not because she understands what happened, but because she feels calm. Before she leaves, she ties a thin blue thread around a nearby stone. Not the tree itself, never harming it. A small marker, just for her. Years later, when she returns, the thread is gone. Carried away by wind or weather. But when her hand touches the bark again, she feels that same layered stillness. As if nothing placed near the tree is ever entirely forgotten. Time moves forward once more. It is now the year 2008. Ruth's grandson, Daniel, climbs the ridge with his parents. 8 years old, curious, restless. The sky is clear that day, bright. The air sharp and thin. Daniel wanders slightly ahead along the ridge, not far, just beyond the next rise. His parents pause to adjust the pack. When they look up, he is out of sight. They call his name. Wind answers first. Then Daniel hears something. A rhythmic tapping. Soft, measured. Not loud enough to frighten, just clear enough to follow. Tap. Pause. Tap. He walks toward it without thinking too much. The ridge curves gently, and there it is. The bristlecone. Its twisted silhouette against blue sky. The tapping stops. Daniel stands quietly in front of the trunk. He feels something steady here, something large, not heavy, just enduring. His parents crest the ridge moments later. Relief floods their voices. They pull him into their arms. Daniel looks back at the tree. "I think it called me," he says. They smile gently. They assume imagination. But that night, Daniel dreams. He dreams of roots reaching deep into stone. He dreams of objects resting quietly in dark soil. A smooth grey stone. A copper locket. A tin button. A folded letter, softened by time. A pocket knife worn smooth at the handle. A thin blue thread once tied nearby. Not haunted, not magical in any dramatic way, just kept. Now imagine the ridge at dusk. Visitors have gone and voices have faded. The temperature drops slowly. The sky deepens toward indigo. The bristlecone stands as it always has, twisted, scarred, enduring. Part of it deadwood, part of it living tissue still drawing water upward. Above it, stars begin to appear. The same stars that shone when Tovo placed his smooth stone in soil. The same stars that watched Saya and Luma search for the lost locket. The same stars that glimmered when Elias leaned back in regret. When Clara pressed her letter into stone. When Thomas waited out the snowstorm. When Ruth closed her eyes against ancient bark. When Daniel heard soft tapping in the wind. Time has passed, but the ridge remains. The tree remains. And beneath its roots, small human things rest quietly. Nothing dramatic, nothing glowing. Just fragments of being human. Now bring your attention gently to your own breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale softly. You do not need to carry everything tonight. Imagine placing one small worry at the base of that ancient tree. Not physically, just in thought. Let the roots press around it. Let the soil settle. The tree has practiced holding things for a very long time. Wind moves through the needles, soft, even, steady. Almost like breathing. Slow, steady, unhurried. Let your thoughts slow the same way. Nothing to solve, nothing to chase. Just the ridge at dusk. Just ancient wood against open sky. Just breath moving in and out. And somewhere far above, stars continuing their quiet watch. The bristlecone stands, unmoved, unrushed. And you can rest. Let the mountain fade gently Let the tree stand without you watching. Let time move on its own. You do not need to hold it tonight. Just breathe. And drift.